And before we talk about anything, holy moly, breaking, interrupting news while we were all watching Monday Night Football. We were watching, Lamar Jackson and this Colts team both struggling offensively in the first half. And then Adam Schefter shows up on our screen. Breaking news. The Raiders are parting ways with John Gruden. Oh my goodness. Did that catch everybody by surprise? We knew the email that was kind of leaked 11 years ago. And then, he, a couple days went by and he wasn't going to get fired or anything like that. So we were like, okay, John Gruden's probably safe. Yeah, the email was bad, but it was, okay, but it was 11 years ago. Maybe he's grown, alrighty. But then Adam Schefter was like, nah, that was just a little flake of the iceberg, a little bit of a crumb that broke off of an iceberg, because now there's an entire article and emails, thousands, hundreds of thousands of emails that are having that same type of not great language here by John Gruden. So I don't think he was officially fired. He did officially resign, so he was forced, I'm sure. But I want to talk about this article. We don't really get that serious here on the show. We don't really go into these kind of very serious allegations and articles. The last one that we really talked about in depth was the Washington football team cheerleading scandal, and that whole thing, and that front office scandal last year, and then brought up again this year. That was really the only time we talked about real serious articles right here. But we got to talk about this John Gruden one and really see what the heck this man is saying, because, obviously he's coming out and defending himself. Hey, I never meant to hurt anybody, but, yeah, I mean, you're not going to be, actively racist to the public. I mean, he was on Monday Night Football with Mike Tirico and all that, so obviously he's not, saying these things out loud in front of a national audience. But I mean, if you're doing it in emails and private conversations, that's probably who you kind of are a little bit in person. Like I said, you're not going to be actively racist because hey, racist is like the worst thing you could gotta be labeled here. So I mean, people are smart, and if they are racist, they're going to try to hide it, especially somebody in John Gruden's position who is at ESPN weekly kind of telecast breaking down the game, his quarterback camp and all that. So he obviously wants to keep his job and he wants money, and he got this head coaching job, so he's not actively being racist. And that's kind of the defense a lot of people are using. Well, those emails were years ago, and he wasn't saying this out loud, this wasn't him, he was just saying this in private. But if you're saying things in private, like I said, that's kind of who you are at your core. You can do whatever you want to kind of mask that core, and however you kind of represent yourself out in public and in front of everybody. But deep down, that's who potentially John Gruden is, and that's the biggest thing, using this type of language repeatedly in private. It's not like a one-time case, because we get this entire article right here. So let's see. It's a New York Times article, folks. Let's see it. We are going to probably read a lot of the language in here, so please don't come at me, folks. I'm not saying these words. I'm reporting. I'm just saying the words that John Gruden used, so we can all just know the true terminology. Because if I'm going to say, oh, well, he used the F word and all this, or he used this word, there is one word that, obviously nobody can use unless you are, African American. So I will definitely not be using that word, but every other word here will probably try to say, unless I feel totally 1000% uncomfortable even just saying it in a reporting fashion, because I skimmed the article a little bit, and I was like, okay, there are a couple of charged up words here, but we're just trying to be mature here. Context matters 100%, and really everything that's talked, that people are saying and all that. I don't think we should demonize words individually. Really, context is truly the, in my opinion, the most important thing. So we're just going to get the facts out there. These were the words that this man was using, folks, that are kind of written down in this article. So please don't come at me, folks. We're not saying these words. We are just reporting on these. Language is so important here, just in kind of life in general, of the human species. Language is how we express, and literally why animals can't evolve is because they don't have language, folks. That's literally what separates humans from literally every other creature on this earth, is that we are able to verbalize what our intentions are, what we are saying. If, ants could talk, they'd take over the world in a heartbeat, folks. It'd be so easy. They'd be like, hang on, y'all can talk? Oh, I can talk too. Well, let's get together. I mean, we got millions of us. You see those big, I don't even know what the ants would call us, but y'all see those big people, those big things roaming around this earth on 2 feet. I mean, we can overtake them, right? If we all coordinate, and now we can talk and verbalize and coordinate. Ants would take over the world in a second, folks, if they can verbalize. So we are just using our language to get the facts out there, because that's really all that matters, are the facts. And I know, it's a crazy time, misinformation, all that. So we are just getting the facts out there, folks. Okay, please do not come at us. Obviously, we don't use this language in our day-to-day life, folks. I mean, obviously, but let's just see what we get here in this article, and let's see how bad it actually was, and if John Gruden truly deserved to kind of be forced, in our opinion, in a resignation role here. So here is the New York Times article, folks. Raiders coach resigns after homophobic and misogynistic emails. Okay, in emails detailed by the New York Times, Raiders coach John Gruden casually used misogynistic and homophobic language to disparage people. Alrighty, here we go. Let's jump right into this. Here we go. John Gruden stepped down Monday as the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders football team hours after the New York Times detailed emails in which he made homophobic and misogynistic remarks following an earlier report of racist statements about a union leader. His resignation was a striking departure from the Football League for a coach who had won a Super Bowl, been a marquee analyst on ESPN, and returned to the NFL in 2018 to lead the resurgent Raiders, which he had coached years before. Quote by John Gruden: "I have resigned as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. I love the Raiders and do not want to be a distraction. Thank you to all the players, coaches, and staffs and fans of Raider Nation. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt anyone." So there it is, kind of, hey, John Gruden say, hey, I never meant to hurt anybody. But then we're getting the same, misogynistic, racist, homophobic words used time and time and time again. So yeah, you didn't mean to hurt anybody. But you were saying that in email. So once again, it's kind of, you're apologizing because you got caught, unfortunately. So let's keep it up here and see, what these emails are saying and everything. So that was his apology. That was kind of what he put out there publicly, his words. But let's continue here to the article. Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, said in a statement that he had accepted the resignation. Rich Biskia, the Raiders special teams coordinator, was elevated to the interim head coach, the team said. So we got the special teams coordinator elevated to the head coaching job. We'll see how that works. Joe Judge was kind of I believe the last special teams coordinator that got a head coaching job, the head coach of the Giants. He was special teams coordinator for the Patriots, and now he's the head coach for the Giants for the last two. Is he going into is this the third season? Something like that. 2, 3, 4 years max. So don't have the best kind of track record of becoming good head coaches, but we'll give that man the benefit of the doubt. I mean, this Raiders offense is great, folks. I mean, I really think John Gruden was holding this team back. I mean, that was kind of the big story about John Gruden when he reemerged here as a head coach in the NFL. It was like, well, he inherited that kind of Bucs team that he led to the Super Bowl, and then after he won the Super Bowl with that Bucs team and everybody kind of started to leave, and you couldn't keep everybody together there in 2002, then he goes 7-9, 5-11, he went 11-5, lost the first round of the playoffs, then 4-12, 9-7, 9-7. That was his kind of tenure with Tampa Bay after winning that Super Bowl. And then that was the question, is he actually a good coach, or did he just inherit a good team and took him to the Super Bowl and then did nothing after that? And that was kind of what we were trying to figure out here with the Raiders, and we saw him be trash. I mean, first year 4-12, then 7-9, then 8-8, and not making the playoffs with this star-studded, high-tempo, great offense. Derek Carr is a great elite quarterback in this league, and they got piece after piece after piece, speed all over the field. So I really think this is going to be a good thing in the NFL. Yeah, you get a little bit of a bigot out of the, out of the league, which is always great. I mean, there's really I still can't wrap my head around that. People just think they're superior or better than just anybody in general, let alone you think you're better than people because of your race or skin color or religion or your sexual orientation or all that. I just honestly, truly cannot wrap my mind around that thought, that concept that a lot of people do kind of show here. So obviously they're better off without having this in the league, and he obviously wasn't even a good coach, so definitely making the team better just like that. So but let's get back to the article here. All right, here we go. Gruden's departure came after a New York Times report that the NFL officials, as part of a separate workplace misconduct investigation that did not directly involve him, found that Gruden has casually and frequently unleashed misogynistic and homophobic language over several years to denigrate people around the game and to mock some of the league's momentous changes. He'd announced the emergence of women as referees, the drafting of a gay player, and the tolerance of players protesting during the playing of the national anthem, according to emails reviewed by the Times. Gruden's messages were sent to Bruce Allen, the former president of the Washington football team. Oh, does this surprise us that the Washington football team is at, the peak of all these scandals out there? We just said it, to the lead up of this article. The only kind of other serious article we read was the Washington football team cheerleading scandal, which was absolutely absurd, folks. I can't even believe it. And then, the sexual harassment in the actual kind of front office aspect. I mean, it's Washington football at the center of every scandal right here. So John Gruden was just sending emails to Washington football team president. How crazy was that? And others while he was working for ESPN as a color analyst during Monday Night Football. In the emails, Gruden called the league's commissioner, Roger Goodell, a, quote, faggot and a, quote, clueless anti-football pussy. Jeez, he was calling Roger Goodell that, folks. Jeez. And just casually, throwing around those slurs and everything like that. And said that Goodell should have pressured Jeff Fisher, then the coach of the Rams, to draft, quote, queers, to reference to Michael Sam, a gay player chosen by the team in 2014. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy to say. Once again, I mean, this is, 2014. It's not like, folks, once again, we're in like the 21st century. We've been in the 21st century for a while now. I mean, this is no excuse. Well, now we're in 2021 now. So, what he said in 2014, he's changed and he's got older. Folks, I mean, he's still like 40 during this time. I mean, the old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I mean, right here, he's 40 still using this language. You really think anything has really changed? I doubt it. Let's keep going here. In numerous emails during a 7-year period ending in early 2018, Gruden criticized Goodell and the league for trying to reduce concussions and said that Eric Reed, a player who had demonstrated during the playing of the national anthem, should be fired. In several instances, Gruden used a homophobic slur to refer to Goodell and offensive language to describe some NFL owners, coaches, and journalists who cover the league. And once again, I mean, people are actively protesting here. I mean, we've always supported the kneeling of the national anthem. I mean, if you really feel like you are being, discriminated against, marginalized, whatever it is, then yeah, take action. That's what makes America so great. You can protest and stand up for what you believe in. And players were doing that. Colin Kaepernick literally got blackballed from the league because he protested, and kind of John Gruden was kind of cheering that on, championing that. I mean, wanting Eric Reed to get fired because he protested, because he saw social injustice. So you protest. I mean, you have a platform and he protested. I mean, I can't believe that people actively think that's a wrong thing to do. We are in America. The difference of opinions is always celebrated. We are free. We can say what we want. We can do what we want. We can enact change. I mean, I feel like everybody always forgets. I mean, this is literally supposed to be the greatest country in the world, the melting pot. I always feel people forget. America is literally the melting pot. We bring everybody in. So we can have all these cultures, all these experiences here in America, and that's what makes us so great, because we embrace the uniqueness in the cultural diversity of everybody. But it's like over these last kind of maybe even 10 years, it's like everybody forgot did y'all not go to high school? We are the melting pot. I think that's the only thing I actually remember of school. Hey, we're the melting pot. We bring in everybody. We celebrate everybody. So the fact that people are still in 2020, 2014, we're like, no. It's straight white people or not. It's like, what? It's absolutely crazy, folks. It's truly, and it has no sense of being really in today's day and age. Honestly, we need to truly, I don't know what it's going to take. It seems like if it hasn't changed by now, it will never change, which is honestly the craziest thing ever. But oh man, when I see things like this and I hear things like this, it's just like, really, y'all? What are y'all thinking? What are y'all doing? Honestly, it makes no sense to think that you can be superior than anybody else. I can't even begin to think of that thought, honestly. But let's get back into this article here. Gruden, Allen in the NFL, and the Raiders did not respond to request for comment. Got caught in 4K and nobody wants to own up to that. John Gruden will just kind of send out a tweet like we just said, hey, I didn't mean to hurt anybody. Or you didn't? You didn't mean to hurt anybody? Really? Because it seems like you were trying to hurt some people. You wanted somebody to get fired. That kind of turns around into hurt. You lose your job. You don't get paid. You can't take care of your family. That's hurting somebody, John. You didn't mean to hurt somebody by saying they should be fired? Come on. For literally a nonsense reason because he kneeled for the national anthem. I mean, we said that Urban Meyer should be fired, but that was because he didn't ride back on the team plane after a loss and then actively cheated on his wife. I mean, jeez. That's, when you could maybe potentially say somebody should be fired, not because they demonstrated and stood up for what they believed in. All right, back to the article. Here we go. Although not with a team at the time, Gruden was still influential in the league and highly coveted as a coach. Highly coveted? I don't think he was highly coveted. Jeez. He had won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers following the 2002 season. And in 2018, he was hired for a second stint as the head coach of the Raiders franchise, which includes defensive lineman Carl Nassib, the first active NFL player to publicly declare that he is gay. That just came out earlier this season. So how did John Gruden respond to that? I'm sure he was kind of boiling up inside. Jeez. The league said last week it shared emails with the Raiders in which Gruden made derogatory comments. Gruden told ESPN on Sunday that the league was reviewing emails in which he criticized Goodell and explained that he had been upset about the team owner's lockout of the players in 2011 when some of the emails were written. Gruden said in that interview that he had used an expletive to refer to Goodell and that he did so because he disapproved of Goodell's emphasis on safety, which he believed was scaring parents into steering their sons away from football. And once again, so this man is just gonna be gatekeeping information. Concussions and CTE is a real thing in sports, folks, from every level of football, and we say this all the time. If the actual information about concussions and what CTE, the result of playing football, if that actual true information came out, it would potentially ruin the game of football as we know it. And that's why they spend so much money kind of making sure this information doesn't get out there. So John Gruden wanting to kind of gatekeep this information because, he thinks it's going to ruin the game. And then, using that derogatory term. And, the thing about using derogatory terms is like the F word that we just read up here. It's just like this. I heard this like a couple of years ago and it always stuck with me. It was like, you use those words because, you don't have any, your IQ isn't there. I'm not putting people down, but, your IQ, your lesser IQ because you don't know of another word to use besides that word. When you really use the word, let's use the word right here, kind of describing kind of Goodell in this situation as kind of a little lame out here, saying it's like the wrong decision. Why not just use the word lame or something else that resembles that word? Why are you going to use that kind of derogatory slur when you really mean something else? So it does kind of show a little bit of a lower IQ of people that do use these slurs like that. There's a thesaurus. geez, there's a thesaurus, folks. Use it. It tells you what word you can use instead of the word you're thinking of. Go out and use it. Dictionaries and the sources. I feel like I'm not saying that word right. And how ironic would that be? But let's get back to this article here. Let's continue on. All right, but Gruden's behavior was not limited to 2011. Gruden exchanged emails with Allen and other men that included photos of women wearing only bikini bottoms, including one of the 2 Washington team cheerleaders. Oh my God. And once again, it's coming back to that original article where we talked about the Washington team football cheerleaders, where they were brought to another country to do a photo shoot, and like the cheerleading kind of the head of the cheerleading department, whatever it is, they like took all the cheerleaders' passports so they couldn't really leave. It's a bizarre article, folks. It's from like 2018, 2019. If you can find it, truly read it, because it's some shocking things in there. So once again, they're like using this in John Gruden is like sending those photos around, and they were using those cheerleaders as escorts for like high profile people of the team, like season ticket holders and all that. It was truly bizarre. And now somehow John Gruden got those pictures. How did John Gruden get those pictures into when did this come out? They got a date here, but sometimes in like the early 2010s, getting these pictures here when he was not even in football. He was for ESPN. That's not Washington football team. He's not a part of that, but he was still getting the pictures of the cheerleaders in their bikini bottoms. It's like, geez. So once again, that's not great all around. Tying back to that Washington football team organization, which has been in hot water for the last couple of years. So not great. Bad company usually kind of hangs around each other. Gruden also criticized President Obama during his re-election campaign in 2012, as well as then Vice President Joe Biden, whom Gruden called a, quote, nervous, clueless pussy. John Gruden loves throwing that word pussy around. Hey, John Gruden's not a pussy. I mean, do you watch this man? He's all energy, all masculine energy out here, calling everybody pussies out here. He used similar words to describe Goodell and DeMaurice Smith, the executive director of the NFL Players Association. The league is already investigating Gruden as a result of another email he wrote to Allen in 2011, in which he used racist terms to describe Smith, who is black. In that email, Gruden, who is white and was working for ESPN at the time, criticized Smith's intelligence and used a racist trope to describe his face. The correspondence was first reported by the Wall Street Journal and confirmed by the New York Times. Taken together, the emails provide an unvarnished look into the clubby culture of one NFL circle of peers, where white male decision makers felt comfortable sharing pornographic images, deriding the league's policies, and jocularly sharing homophobic language. Their banter flies in the face of the league's public denouncements of racism and sexism and its promise to be more inclusive amid criticism for not listening to the concerns of black players who make up about 70% of NFL rosters. The NFL has in the past struggled to discipline personnel who have committed acts of domestic violence and been condemned for failing to adequately address harassment of women, including NFL cheerleaders. The league, Smith, and Davis all denounced Gruden's comments about Smith when they surfaced, but the coach still led his team in its game Sunday against the Chicago Bears. Gruden said Friday that he did not remember sending the email and that his language, quote, went too far, adding, quote, I never had a blade of racism in me. Gruden's emails to Allen, who was fired by Washington football team at the end of 2019, were reviewed as part of an NFL investigation of workplace misconduct within the franchise that ended this summer. Goodell instructed league executives to look at more than 650,000 emails during the first few months, including those in which Gruden made offensive remarks. Last week, Gruden received a summary of their findings, and the league sent the Raiders some of the emails written by Gruden. In the exchange, Gruden used his personal email account while Allen wrote from the team account. I mean, that's right there. I mean, you can't be using, team servers. Come on, what are you doing? That's mistake number one. Jeez. In some cases, Allen initiated the conversation and Gruden chimed in, while in other cases, they trade vulgar comments several times. Some of the emails between Gruden and Allen also included businessman friends Ed Drost, the co-founder of jeez, of course, Ed Drost, the co-founder of Hooters, Jim McVay, an executive who has run the Outback Bowl annually held in Tampa, Florida. Is that Sean McVay's brother? Any relationship? Any relation there? Interesting. And Nick Reeder, the founder of PDQ Restaurants, a Tampa-based fried chicken franchise. The exchanges begin as early as 2010, while Gruden was an analyst for Monday Night Football. In 2018, he signed a 10-year, $100 million contract with the Raiders. Drost, McVay, and Reeder did not respond to requests for comments. Gruden and Allen are longtime friends and colleagues. Allen was a senior executive with the Raiders from 1995 to 2003 when he worked with Gruden, who was head coach of the team from 1998 to 2001. Gruden became head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2002 and beat the Raiders in the Super Bowl that season. Allen became the general manager there in 2004. Allen and Gruden both left the Bucs after the 2008 season. While Gruden moved to a broadcast role with ESPN, Allen became the general manager in Washington in 2010 and later the team's president. Allen, who was the son of a legendary NFL coach, George Allen, and Gruden, whose father coached at Notre Dame, and whose brother Jay Gruden, head coach of Washington from 2014 to 2018. So the Grudens, all up in the Washington football team's, dealings with the cheerleaders and the sexual assault and harassment allegations at the front office. So does not seem like a good kind of group of people to kind of be around. Am I right? Are part of an exclusive network that cycles between NFL teams, networks, and companies affiliated with the league. In June, the NFL congratulated Nassib after he became the first active NFL player to publicly declare that he is gay. Goodell said he was, quote, proud of Carl for courageously sharing his truth today. Representation matters, and that is 100% representation truly matters, folks. And, a lot of people that don't believe in that, are kind of just white people in general, and that's because they were always shown the representation. So now they're like, well, why does representation matter? Well, yeah, y'all can say that because you have been seeing the representation your entire life, so you don't even know that that's what that is, and people look up to that. So, diversifying everything, I think it makes everything better. Seeing, young generations, young faces, seeing their kind of same skin color, orientation, sexual orientation, things that they can kind of identify with, seeing that in high roles, whether it's on TV or just in positions of power. I truly do believe that makes a difference. Representation matters, folks. And John Gruden trying to be the gatekeeper of representation. Why? Who gave him that right? Who decides to gatekeep any information? Once again, America, the land of the free. There should be no gatekeeping on anything. We are the melting pot, folks. It really should be that simple. I don't understand why it is not just everybody thinking like that. Unless everybody just kind of brings up the outlier cases. But it doesn't seem to be that of how just, regular videos, Twitter, you see social media, that kind of, if you don't, fall into an algorithm like on Facebook, it can show you exactly what is truly going on in the world. And we see case after case of just people being absolute, out of their mind. It's mental illness, honestly. It's honestly crazy. But let's get back to this article here. We are close to being done, and we got 2 instances. So let's keep going here before we make an overall final conclusion. And what do we got? Here we go. Privately, Allen and Gruden appeared to have a few boundaries in exposing homophobic and transphobic language. In one email from 2015 that includes Drost, McVay, and others, Gruden crudely asked Allen to tell Brian Glazer, whose family owns the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where Gruden coached until 2008, to perform oral sex on him. Allen said Glazer would, quote, take you up on that offer. Okay. Allen and Gruden also mocked Caitlyn Jenner, who received an award from ESPN in 2015 after she transitioned. In an email from 2015, Allen and Gruden criticized a congressional bill that aimed to force the Washington franchise to change its name, which the team stopped using last year, again using a vulgar term. Gruden took aim at Goodell and his staff, even though the commissioner had initially defended the team's right to keep the name. In 2017, Drost shared with the group a sexist meme of a female referee, to which Gruden replied, quote, "Nice job, Roger." That same year, Gruden was sent a link to an article about NFL players calling on Goodell to support their efforts promoting racial equality and criminal justice reform. Gruden had advice for Goodell, said, quote, "He needs to hide in his concussion protocol tent." Okay, so I thought we were going to get some more examples. I mean, I would like to see the exact emails, the exact wording. Obviously, it is kind of a repeated history, spanning from 2010 all the way kind of up until now. It's obviously not a good look ever using these terms, in private or in public. And that's kind of what John Gruden was kind of doing, saying all this stuff in public that he knew he would never say, or the things that he said in private, he knew he would never say in public. And that's kind of, a good guide. If you're saying things in private that you wouldn't say in public, that's kind of, you potential racist, homophobic, because it's wrong, but you are still saying them in private. So that's where we're at with John Gruden. We don't really get that many examples, and the examples that we do get definitely, are not great. I would just like to see the evidence, and I don't need somebody to tell me the evidence. Just show me the evidence. I mean, I can make my own conclusions. I don't need somebody to think for me. I know what is right and I know what is wrong. And this so far is wrong. It's very not good wrong. And especially being around that whole Washington football team, that's just nothing that is good, truly. So that's where we're at with John Gruden. So fired, gone, out of the league, never will probably be in the league again. Definitely won't get his job back at ESPN for Monday Night Football, and we potentially will never hear from John Gruden again, which is probably a good thing just overall, because he can't coach and he's not a good human being. So that's where we're at. So alrighty, folks, that's John Gruden. Out, fired, and rightfully so.